You're listening to The Pivot Point, where we unpack the defining moments that shift careers and lives. I'm your host, Laura Dionisio, founder of Lead Intact, and my mission is to spotlight the raw, real stories behind career pivots, the fears, the hopes, the messy middles, and the bold decisions that follow. If you're feeling stuck or quietly wondering what's next, I hope these stories help you see yourself a little more clearly and inspire you to start moving toward your own dream life. Let's begin. Welcome back to The Pivot Point. I'm your host, Laura Dionisio, and we are still in our little pause before season 2. If this is your first time tuning in during these I just need a little break episode, go back and start from the beginning of the series. We started with my personal pivot story, then we got practical, and today we're going to talk about social proof. Because sometimes you can know all the right things, you can have the framework, you can have the awareness, you can even have the desire. But until you see someone actually living it, like really living it, something in you stays a little bit skeptical. A little bit like, okay, but does this actually work for real people in real life? That's what this episode is for. My guest is Elyse Archer, founder of She Sells and Superhuman Selling, coach, author, Forbes contributor, and honestly, one of the people I admire the most. And what I want you to know before you continue listening is that Elyse isn't someone who figured it all out and then came back to tell us about it from some perfectly polished finish line. She is still in it, still growing, still doing the work, and she is completely transparent about that, which is one of the reasons I find her so compelling. She was actually my first real example that you can be successful and work part-time hours, that you can build something significant and still have space for your life. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit triggered when I first heard her story because my brain was like, what do you mean that's possible? And because I've done some of the work myself, I recognize it's because seeing her live her life like that gave me permission to ask myself what I actually wanted. In this episode, she shares her own pivot story, one of many, and it is raw and real. She talks about money, identity, limiting beliefs, and what it actually felt like to make a quantum leap. The butt-clenching moments included. And she is very clear that the work is never ending, but she means that in the most beautiful way possible. This one is going to stay with you. Let's get into it. Welcome, Elyse Archer, to The Pivot Point. I created this largely because I was inspired by you. Also, thank you so much for being here. How are you doing today?
I am so excited for this, Laura. I just love you. I think that your voice needs to be heard by a lot of people. Your story needs to be heard. Everything that has happened up until this point and everything that is going to be happening over the next however long here as you continue to quantum leap. So I've been looking forward to this and I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, me too. So how I know Elyse is because she is the amazing founder and owner of She Sells and also Superhuman Selling. And she has been, I consider to be a mentor and coach since like almost a year now, which is pretty incredible. And I am so excited for all of you to get to know her as well, if you don't already know her. I'm going to start off reading her official bio so that everybody knows officially why you're amazing. Elyse Archer is the founder of the Superhuman Selling and She Sells movements, which empower entrepreneurs and sales professionals to revolutionize how they sell, explode their income, and achieve quantum leaps in all areas of life. An author, 3-time Salesforce top sales influencer and thought leader, whose insights have been featured in major media including Forbes and Inc., Elyse is passionate about empowering her clients to sell in a way that leverages their natural gifts and helps them build wealth along the way. She is an international keynote speaker and host of Superhuman Selling, formerly She Sells Radio, where she shares best practices from female entrepreneurs and sales professionals who have accomplished extraordinary goals. Welcome, Elyse.
Thank
For being
you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And offline, One of the programs that I have gone through is her Ease in Abundance with AI course. And so I have been all about the AI lately. And I
Yes.
ran Elise's impressive bio through my chat GPT. Elise, do you want to hear it?
Love it. I'm so curious because you and I were talking in the pre-chat about Laura's AI is incredible. Her chat GPT is like the ultimate hype woman. So I thought, oh my gosh, like I need to hear this.
Yeah.
So yes, please.
Yeah. It's literally called Laura's Hype Translation.
Great.
Okay, here we go. All right. You've heard her formal bio, but now I want you to imagine a chorus of angelic voices harmonizing as golden light spills across the sky, because that's the energy this woman brings. Elyse Archer is a radiant force of nature. She's a mentor, a coach, a walking permission slip to live your boldest, most beautiful, most aligned life. She doesn't just talk about goddess energy, she embodies it, not in a floaty, unreachable way, but in a grounded, real life, you can do this too kind of way that instantly makes you feel like anything is possible. And on a personal note, hearing Elise's story was the first time I truly understood that success didn't have to come from burnout and overdrive. Before her, I was believed that the harder you work, the more worthy you are, that grinding equals greatness. But Elise, she flipped that for me in 2 seconds. She showed me that the more successful you become, the more you get to prioritize rest, self care, and ease. She helped me question the belief that if I wasn't constantly working my ass off, I was being lazy. This woman changed how I view success and how I view myself. So take a deep breath, soak it in, and give it up for the one, the only, the goddess herself, Elyse freaking Archer.
That is great. I'm going to listen to that in the morning when I get out of bed. Oh, your chat is wonderful. And so are you.
Thank you. But truly
Yeah.
though, like that part about like success, at least I mean, you know this. You've coached me through this. But dismantling the hard work equals success took a lot.
Yeah.
And it started because I didn't even know that there was any other way of being, you know? So actually starting from there, I would love to hear about what was your journey, right? To pivoting from I need to work really hard. I'm lazy if I don't. And how did you kind of flip that ability into who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I was just before this recording one of my own podcast episodes debunking the myth that hard work will make you
Mm,
rich. And so it's it's fun to just roll from that into this because this is a myth that we get to debunk and it's something that I think a lot of us have bought into. I think whether we grew up with parents who told us that if you want to be successful, if you want to make money, if you want to be quote unquote stable, secure, et cetera, it's going to take a lot of hard work whether you grew up with that or not, I think it's also just in the collective consciousness. I think that there's a lot of conditioning around to be successful. It can only come through grind, through force, through effort. And I definitely bought into it. And it's also not true. And I'll speak a little more to my own journey, but what I'll say now is I think it's important that we question everything that we've been taught,
mm,
not just about money and business, but really about life. And I think until we start questioning everything, we run our lives on default mode, on autopilot. We create the same scenarios again and again. We create the same outcomes that maybe we saw our parents live out. Like I grew up upper middle class, like very blessed in that way. But my life modeled pretty much exactly what I saw growing up at home, like the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it, until I started really thinking for myself and questioning everything that I had been taught growing up. And so I want to just first say, I think there's a big moment of freedom and liberation that comes when you start questioning things like to be successful, it requires a lot of grind and hard work. Does it? I don't know. I mean, I work and I work hard, but it's not hard work, if that makes sense. Like I love my work. It's fun. I enjoy it. I also go on a lot of trips. I also prioritize self-care. I also work part-time hours. I also am a partner to my husband. I'm a mama to 3 kids under 5. Like and I have fun and I love life. And when I think about hard work, to me, raising these three little kids,
Mm.
wiping a lot of tushes, running around after people, cleaning up all day long, like helping them process emotions. Like there's a hard work. Or if you look at people who even, work hard for money, construction workers, my husband, he was a night shift respiratory therapist when I met him and did that job for a long time. That's hard work. It's an hourly wage. The only way you're going to make more money is by working more hours. And so, or you go up the ladder there, but it takes a long time and the gains are only incremental. So I think about construction workers, domestic workers, hospital, healthcare workers. Like there's a lot out there where you can work really hard, but not make a lot of money. And so we have to question, is that actually true?
Mhm.
So when I graduated college, I had actually gone to school for journalism, and then I found out how much you would make as a journalist, and I was like, okay. I was going to be a newspaper reporter, by the way, which is completely, like, it tells how old I am, which is comical. But that was my path. And I said, no, it's not gonna fund my shoe habit. And so I went into sales and kind of rose up the ranks in corporate. And I found myself in my late 20s having checked all the boxes of what I thought I was supposed to do to be successful. I was making low six figures at the time. I had a nice house, nice car, was married, had done all, again, checked all the boxes. And on the outside was presenting as if I had everything together. But on the inside, I was very broken. So really bad anxiety, panic attacks. I had never had panic attacks in my life up until the first one I had was like right before I got married to my first husband. And I was like,
Mm.
ooh, I don't know what this is. I haven't experienced this before. But I was really out of alignment and with what I was meant to be doing. And, there's no shoulds. I learned great lessons from it, but I was out of alignment and I didn't realize that was causing the panic attacks. Had an eating disorder, a lot of fear and anxiety about money too, even though, again, outwardly I was in theory successful. And so at the time, that's actually how I discovered podcasting, because I was working in outside sales and I would drive 2 to 3 hours to go visit my customers. And the voice in my head that was telling me like something is wrong, something is wrong, something is wrong, it got so loud that I didn't like sitting with it in the quiet of those drives. And so that's how I came across podcasting, which was this was a while ago. So it was newer then, but I wanted something to fill the space so I didn't have to be alone with my thoughts. And through podcasting, I found personal development. That was not something I'd really been exposed to a lot growing up. Wonderful parents, both very academically gifted and smart. That was a lot of what was taught in our household, celebrated in our household. But things like change your thoughts, change your life, things that we now know and breathe and live and embody in our community and in this work, I hadn't been exposed to those things. So started down that rabbit hole and I decided to make some really big changes in my life. And in a short amount of time, left the marriage, left my corporate job, had really, I knew I wanted to be a coach, start a coaching business. I had one client who paid me $300 to review a presentation for him for his company he was starting. And I said, proof of concept, I can make money outside of corporate. Let's go. Here we go. I'm out of here. There's a lot more butt clenching moments in that. It wasn't quite that easy, but I thought I knew I was meant to do something else and I was called to go somewhere else and really started over in many ways. And I spent about the next 10 years, growing a company, doing coaching, again, healing a lot. Met a new partner who he's now my husband, the father of my three kids, and have moved 10 times in 10 years, which is crazy. When I realized the other day that we had done that, I was like, that's
Wow.
nuts. Yeah, but what I'll share in terms of money specifically, is this is a more recent pivot point, is that even when I made those changes and had gotten out of a lot of challenging times in my 20s and early 30s and had healed a lot, money still felt tricky and money still felt hard. And still, no matter, even though I was working my business, doing something I loved, no matter how hard I worked, I always made low six figures, exactly what I'd made in corporate. And I still had a lot of anxiety and limiting beliefs about money. And long story short, because it could take the rest of the time we have, and I don't want to do that. Right before I turned 35, I made the decision that I was done letting money rule my life. I realized how much time and energy I had been devoting to making myself wrong for wanting money, not trusting myself with it, analyzing every purchase, analyzing every investment, beating myself up if I did something quote unquote wrong with it. And I just thought, like, my life is worth a lot more than this. Money is meant to be a tool that supports and fuels my life. It's not supposed to be my life itself. And right around that time, a dear friend of mine who was my podcast co-host at the time, he passed away at age 39 in his sleep, left behind a wife and 5 kids. And I remember thinking, I think I have a lot more to live. It's funny, as we record this, I'm as old as he was then. But I thought, gosh, if I only had like 4 years left, would I have lived out my fullest life that I came here on the planet to do? And the answer was absolutely not. And so I decided to get radically uncomfortable, to finally do whatever I needed to do to break out of the comfort zone I had been in for so long. And here's the thing with our comfort zone, it doesn't actually feel comfortable. It's what we know, but it's not actually comfortable. And I know you know this, Laura, because you get this. But there's a point at which your comfort zone becomes a cage. And so it was my comfort zone to stay stuck at low 6 figures. It was my comfort zone to devote a lot of my time and my energy to second guessing myself, doubting myself, putting others on a pedestal, but not myself, to being in fear and anxiety about money. Like, that was my comfort zone, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so I just decided I was worth more than that. And I did a lot in a short amount of time to get really uncomfortable, to have to face those limiting beliefs that I've been holding on to for so long. I invested half of what I made the year before in coaching, didn't have the money, didn't know even how I was going to pay for all of it. But I was like, I'm going to do something to get so out of my box with how I've been thinking, and have to, be forced to face these beliefs that have been controlling me for so long. My intuitive guidance was to do it, even though it didn't make sense logically on paper. My intuitive guidance was, do it. This is the right move. Analytical mind was like, what are you doing? This is crazy. This is nuts. But I had learned enough to trust the intuition and know that you will only connect the dots looking backwards, as Steve Jobs said. And I started putting myself out there on social media like never before, launched a new program, and did a lot of deep work around limiting beliefs with money, with my self-concept, my identity, with examining every belief I had ever held on to about myself, about what was possible, about what I was capable of, and did a lot of deep energetic rewiring, did a lot of inner child work too, which you know very, very well and which you're quite masterful at. And in 6 weeks, I went from having been stuck at the same level for over 10 years to 10xing, turning my annual income into my monthly income. And I worked less. And it was a different type of work, but I worked less. It wasn't as hard. It was hard inwardly because I got to bump up against a lot of limiting beliefs. But then it was actually really fun and freeing, which was exciting because I stopped giving so many F's about what other people thought. I started focusing on what I wanted to do instead. So I now live, breathe, teach this real, you know it because you're in the community and in the program. There's a methodology that I kind of downloaded afterwards when I was like, what happened? How did that happen so fast? We call it the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth. And I'm more than happy to offer your audience a link to a training with that. But that was a big pivot point, that where I actually understood money in a different way. I understood selling in a different way. I understood work in a different way, and have really learned, it's so true, your results will never supersede your identity. So if you want a different level of results, there's a new identity, there's a new level of consciousness, there's a new level of you that you get to bring to that. Yeah.
Wow. So many gems. And thinking about the listener who is kind of like at the starting point, right? Because you said so many great gems, like question everything you believe, work on limiting, what even is limiting beliefs, right? I'm thinking of the listener who's like, I've never even heard about these terms, energetic, child work. And you know what stood out to me the most, Elyse, because I'm thinking back to like when I first met you. I think what is so beautiful about the work that you do is how you break down money energetics. Because for me, like before I met you, I have already been doing self work for probably like 5 to 7 years. And I
Yeah.
understood limiting beliefs, inner child work, that kind of thing. But something you said that you decided you didn't want to make money rule your life anymore. And
Mm.
I think that's a limiting belief that people have just normalized because societally it's like that, right? Like, don't change jobs until you have one in place. Make sure your job is secure, whatever that means. So, can you talk a little bit more about how money plays into like how people maybe don't go for it, so to speak?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, a lot of people will use money as an excuse, right? So to your point of why people don't go for it, and they hide behind not having enough money. But there's a lot to it. And so I want to say it, my relationship with money has changed so much over the years. And I used to let it rule me in that I put it energetically above me. Like, and people will do this unconsciously without even realizing it. But if you're someone, here's what I'll say is if you're someone right now who's like, I can't do it because I don't have the money, or you're listening to what I'm saying and you're becoming aware, like, you know what, part of me doesn't feel worthy of more. You may already be consciously aware of that, or you may need to sit with it for a little bit. Or if you judge rich people, if you judge people who talk about money, who have money, etc., then your relationship with money is out of alignment. So I think this is really important. Money is a relationship. And I mean, money is a concept we've created. Like, it's not even really real if you think about it. And I think that's where I used to get it twisted. I would make it so much bigger than me. And to me, a lot of the journey has been a very spiritual journey. And so I'm a very spiritual woman. I will speak and use terms. And I would say with all of this, like, please, for everyone listening, use your own language here, insert whatever it is that you call God, source, universe, like use your own language here. I'll just kind of speak with my own language. But the journey has actually been a deeply spiritual one of remembering that I am and that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we are all part of one consciousness, one God. That's how I see it. And as that, my job here, your job here, our job here is to live out our fullest expression and expansion. And when I was stuck in the box and stuck at 10K months and just stuck in a lot of the limiting beliefs about money, I certainly wasn't living my fullest expression. I was devoting all of my energy and attention to, am I like, am I making wrong decisions with money? Is it okay for me? Like, I had much bigger desires than I think this is where the rub came. I had much bigger desires than I had seen with like okay to go for or safe to go for growing up. And my inner child, the younger part of me, didn't know if it was okay, didn't feel safe, didn't feel worthy. So there was a lot of self-questioning as I would kind of like push the edge of, well, we didn't really fly first class growing up. I think we did once on a trip to Europe.
Hmm.
It was like a big deal. And there was a lot of talk about clipping coupons and a lot of just scarcity and fear energy about money. And I wanted a more expansive life, Laura. Like, I wanted the good life. I wanted the life I saw these cool female entrepreneurs who are making 7 figures plus living. I wanted to fly first class a lot. I wanted the beautiful Valentino shoes. I wanted a certain type of home. I wanted all of those things, but I felt bad about it and I made myself wrong for it for a long time. And what I didn't realize was that that was just part of who I am. That's part of who I came here to be. Each of us has Florence Scovel Shinn talks about this in The Game of Life and How to Play It. Each of us has a divine design, which is a pattern for your life, which is when you allow yourself to expand fully, what does that look like? It's going to be different for everyone. Like, yours can be the penthouse
Hmm.
and certain views and certain type of lifestyle and travel and impact. For someone else, they may say, I actually want complete location independence. I want to travel around the world and live in hotels or hostels or wherever they want to live and do their thing. Like, if that is the fullest expression of them, do it, right? Your fullest expression of you is going to be different. But in my own journey, I really hadn't looked at that a lot because so much of my programming and my focus was on survival, scarcity, paying the bills, getting by, which I think is, again, that's the collective consciousness. That's why I want to invite people to question everything, because I think a lot of people are walking around completely asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you wake up to this work and you start questioning, why am I here? Who am I? Like the big life questions, the things that you actually know the answer to, but a lot of times you stopped thinking about early on, you'll find that if you ask it enough, there will be intelligence that downloads, there will be information that unfolds, there will be a knowing within you that unfolds. So money is just meant to fuel that vision, whatever that is. So for every person's fullest expression, there's a certain amount of money that's required in that. For some people, it may be, I don't know, 50 grand a year. For other people, it's going to be 5 billion a year and beyond. It doesn't really, to me, the number doesn't matter. It's about you living your richest life, your fullest expression, you knowing what that is, being okay with it expanding too, because I think that you reach one level and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
holy crap, that could be so much more. And there's nothing wrong with that either. That's just you becoming more aware of things you weren't aware of before. But we want to learn to create a good relationship with money where we are the master, it is the servant, where we appreciate it, where we love it, where we are grateful for what it does for our life, but where we're in charge and we know that we can create more of it, that we can generate more of it, that we're available to circulate it too. It's meant to circulate and flow from person to person on the planet. And when we create that healthy relationship with money, and there's a lot more to it that we've had time to talk about today, but it becomes just part of the how of your vision, not the vision itself. It helps fuel your vision. And that was a big shift that happened for me when I started calling in more money. I stopped making money God. I
Mm.
remembered who I was. I did the work to feel worthy of what I wanted. And now money is just like a really fun tool that I get to play with. Does that make sense? I
It does.
explained it.
You again, like I feel like I can do a whole day podcast with you and it still wouldn't be enough. I just have to say like and just I've heard this from you before, but it just every time it really opens my heart because it's like you were at a place where you've done the work and it's like I'm seeing you and I'm hearing your words and I'm feeling your energy and it's like, "Oh wow, this is possible." And
Mm,
I'm thinking about the listener, and by the way, listener, this is me too, can't even connect to their vision because they're so blocked. So, can you talk
yeah.
about how the vision came to you and also be so honest about your process of like, you said, yes, I'm done making money rule my life. What was that like for you? Because I'm sure
Mm,
it wasn't easy. You said there was a lot of butt clenching moments. And I just want to be so
yeah.
transparent to the listeners like, hey, look, this is what it could look like. And look at
Yeah.
where Elyse is now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, to your first question of, tapping into your vision for what is the fullest expression of you. And I was actually sharing this on a group call today because I think that the space that at least that I live in and play in, and you're in this space as well, because you're part of the community, there's so much conversation around goal setting and expansion and dreaming big and visioning big that it feels very normal and natural. And I think that that's very common. This past week, though, I was speaking at an event in Canada and I did a women's lunch with a group of the attendees there the day after the keynote. And so many women in that room were saying like, I don't have goals. I don't know what my goals are. And women were like, I don't know what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the women you could tell had come from pretty challenging upbringings and were like, I'm living day to day. I'm just focused on paying the bills and getting by. And it was interesting because I think I'm obviously in the personal development space. We do this work. You forget sometimes, like I know consciously, but sometimes you forget how much of the world doesn't actually live or think this way. And that's part of why we do what we do is I want as many people as possible to be able to expand in this lifetime to the fullest potential for them. But a lot of women were saying things like, I don't know what I want. I don't have goals right now. And Bob Proctor had this great saying. He said, goals are not to get, goals are to grow.
Mm.
And so that to me that was a big shift when it came to goal setting was I used to set a goal and then like I would feel nervous that it wasn't going to happen, or I would feel like, okay, when it happens, then I'm going to feel good. Then I'm going to feel successful. And what I really learned is the point of setting a goal, it's not so much to get the thing, although that's fun and that's exciting and it's wonderful. When it happens, it's lovely. And you're like, yes, this is great. More please. But it's really about who do you get to become in the process, because you take
Mhm.
that with you. So I say all of that to say it's a slightly different twist on goal setting. But if someone's listening and they say, I don't know what I want right now, like maybe they're checking the box, they're doing their job. What I would say to that is, you do know. The deep part of you knows. You're probably too afraid to say it. You probably stopped believing in it. You've probably got a lot of limiting beliefs. And if someone's listening, they're like, what in the world is a limiting belief? Then a thought pattern that tells you that you can't be, do, or have whatever is a soul aligned desire for you. So you do know. And I would say, if you did know, what would it be? If you did know, what would it be? Now, you may need to sit with it. You may need to give it a couple of days, but I bet deep down when I say that, there's something that you want. There's something that you want to go after. There's some sort of change you want to make. Maybe you want to leave corporate, start your company. Maybe you want to move into a dream home. Maybe you want to buy your mom this trip. You want to write a book. You want to launch a nonprofit. There's something. You're afraid of it, right? Because it's the unknown, but you do know deep down. And so what I have learned is that your desires are green lights. So that calling, the fact that you want to do that thing, is part of the IntelliKey of your soul. It's part of the divine design. It's part of the pattern, the blueprint of your fullest expression of you. You are meant to do it. It is meant to happen. I use the analogy of basketball players. Like, you've met me in person.
Mhm.
So people usually think I'm taller than I
Yes.
am. I have a whopping, I think I'm not, I think I used to be 5'3". I'm not sure if I'm 5'3" anymore. I may be like 5'2.5". I don't know. I'm somewhere between 5'2" and 5'3". There is not a bone, there's not an ounce of jealousy in my body when I look at amazing women in the WNBA playing basketball. Like, there's nothing in me that's like, oh, I want that, or that feels jealous or resentful. Nothing. Not the pattern or the blueprint for this lifetime. That's okay. It's not part of my divine design. I'm not meant to do it. It's all good. But I am meant to speak. I am meant to serve on that. I am meant to be I used to not say stuff like this, but a world known thought leader, coach, speaker, trainer. I've embraced it. I'm cool with it. And so when I see people operating at an even higher level than me in my field, I don't get jealous. I used to. Now I don't get jealous. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for showing what's possible. So that calling that you feel towards whatever it is that you want, it can be something in your occupation, it can be a home, it can be a relationship. That is your green light that you're meant to go for it. So you got to stop questioning it and start trusting it. All right. What was the second part? You said,
Yes.
oh, the moment, the butt clenching
Yes,
moments,
walk us through, because
right?
you made a decision. I am done making money rule my life. And
Yeah.
I think it's easy to, oh, well, of course Elyse did it. She's a money person. She just, changed like that.
Oh,
And yeah, so walk us through what that was like.
it was so scary because I was so, it was in, it, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, Laura, because I don't want to make it sound like it was like, oh, it's easy, blah, blah, blah. I think we teach the things that that we get to learn in this lifetime. And a lot of times those are the areas where we've had the biggest challenges or struggles, where we feel the most insecure, where we felt the most pain, so it was not at all like I'm just going to go, invest X amount that I don't have and getting wildly uncomfortable. It was wildly uncomfortable. And the decision, I'll say it like this, it was similar to when I got coaching for healing with the eating disorder that I had dealt with in my teens and my early to mid 20s. And when I realized that the eating disorder was never about food, it was about not listening to my intuition, not trusting myself. It was about control.
Mm.
It was about not feeling good enough. And I remember the first time, when I really got that and I finally felt free, I remember, sounds so funny, but I was doing an intensive with my coach at the time. And I had like booked an overnight at a hotel that we were working at during the day. And I woke up the next morning and I felt free for the first time. And I was like, what do I want to do? Like, what does my body actually want to do right now? And I felt like belly dancing, which sounds ridiculous. I always had a lot of stuff about my body, especially my stomach. I just remember belly dancing, like finally feeling so free because food no longer controlled me. It was like a coming back into myself and honoring of myself. But I had to be willing to get uncomfortable to verbalize that I was struggling in an area and actually look at what the real thing was that was creating the pattern and the cycle, which wasn't food. It was me not trusting myself, me not feeling good enough, and me feeling like I was trying to control anything I could outside of me because I didn't feel in control inside. And that was a very freeing and liberating moment. So when I decided to take back my power in the area of money, it was similar, where it was like, it was just this awareness of I am worth more than letting money rule and control my life. Not from the energy of, okay, I'm just going to go live off the grid and not have to deal with it. Although that is fine if that's someone's choice. But it was the energy of like, no, I want more of it. I want a lot more of it. I know I'm meant to live a way more expansive life. What is this all about? Why do I have money so twisted? Why am I so uncomfortable with it? Why does it feel hard? And so I think a lot of times to shake ourselves out of that cage, we got to do something really uncomfortable in that area. And for me, it was investing what felt like an astronomical amount for me at the time into coaching. And then it was I did that specifically because I knew it would bring up every limiting belief I'd ever had about money. And I got to deal with it. And it wasn't easy. It certainly wasn't. And it brought up a ton of limiting beliefs and a ton of fear. But I had to finally look at it. And then I realized that they were all lies. And you realize that's why I want people to question everything, because a lot of times you're being controlled by lies and you don't even realize it.
What kept you moving through the discomfort and not going back to, I make like 6 figures. Isn't this good enough? Like what's wrong? What's wrong with me? Like what prompted you to just say, no, I am rewiring myself?
Yeah. Well, I think part of it was when you take an action where it's like you've actually got commitment, you've got something on the line, it's a different energy. Like that's why a lot of people will listen to a great quantum leap story and say, oh, that sounds really nice. Okay, when the money's there, I'll do that. When the resources are there, I'll do that. When this happens, I'll do that. You're not going to quantum leap from that energy. So you can't get the quantum leap results and not be willing to put it all on the line in that way. I think that's really important. So you're going to get out of it the energy you put into it. And so I was committed. Like when I decided I was done playing small, I was done playing small and I was radically uncomfortable. But part of what was powerful, and we teach this work in our community, there's a concept called beautiful states and suffering states. And it's not my own. I know we give credit to who does it in the module. You may remember his name is David something. I'm completely blanking on it right now. But it's a powerful concept. And it's essentially, how do you know when you are thinking truth versus how do you know when you're thinking a limiting belief or a lie? And the indicator is what's the feeling state in your body. So if I'm in a feeling state of love, expansion, joy, gratitude, peace, abundance, I can trust my thoughts from that place. Like the thoughts that I'm thinking from that emotional state they're only going to match the feeling state. So they're going to be thoughts of love, expansion, joy, abundance, etc. That's my truth. That's what I listen to. If I'm in an emotional state of fear, self-doubt, uncertainty, panic, dread, anger, all of it, the thoughts that come from that feeling state are not my truth. If you listen to those thoughts and act on those thoughts, they're not going to get you where you want to go. And so in the moment when you're having those thoughts and you're in that state, it doesn't necessarily get rid of them. But when you're conscious of this work, and I was during that point, I could tune into my feeling state and say, okay, because there was so many times when I felt self-doubt. There were so many times when I was like, what am I doing? I should go back. I should stop. Like, this isn't working. So many of those times, probably every day, multiple times a day. But I knew enough to say, what's my feeling state right now? Okay, this isn't truth. This is actually a lie that I'm thinking right now. So I'm going to do what I need to do to get back into a beautiful state, which for me was listening to truth, listening to Abraham Hicks, Joe Dispenza, Michael Beckwith, getting outside, like doing something to where I would feel my heart open up again. And then from that place, it's like, okay, I'm not analyzing, I'm not micromanaging, I'm trusting the process again. My heart was open again. Then I would be like, okay, what's the next step I can take? Does that does that make sense
That
and
was
help?
so beautifully described. Like because I feel like you
Good.
you gave both the pain points, so to speak, of when you were going through it, and then like what kept you anchored. Um,
Mm,
and then yeah, I want to switch topics a little bit because I know you've done like probably 10,000 pivots at this point, and you're
yeah.
in one right now. So for the
Mm,
listener who has done a major pivot and they're kind of like at that cusp, right? But maybe they're like doubting, like, oh, why can't I be satisfied with what I have? Can you
yeah.
tell us about what your experience and your pivot now, like, and how that's different from
Mm,
the first pivot that you were just talking about?
yeah, for sure. This one, there's a lot more, there's more in the line in certain ways because it's about a lot more people. So the first pivot was more about me getting unstuck, and so there's a lot of me
Hmm.
in it. It was very uncomfortable financially. There was definitely big discomfort with that. But then I did it and went on and we built a seven-figure company, did all the things that were on my vision board, my goal card. And about close to this time last year, actually, I was kind of I was never really sitting around, but I was doing whatever I was doing. And in a place, I think we were on an RV trip at the time, and things were just really good. Like things were just really good. I was like, man, I'm so grateful. This is it. This is the life. I'm here. It happened. And we all know that that's when we get the shakeup. That's when we get the invitation to think bigger. And I'd kind of been playing with it was like these two different paths that were showing up at that time. And one was literally just stay where I was. Now, what you and I both know is nothing is ever stagnant. So you're never just staying where you are. But it was like, I'm going to keep running a seven-figure business. I'm going to, coach. I'm going to speak. I'm going to train. We were kind of maxed in terms of like what we could do. I had a very lean, mean team at that time. Things were kind of full. It was like capacity was full. I can keep doing this. This feels good. Got space for my kids, manifested a lot of my dreams, money feels good, etc. And simultaneously, anytime I would see a video of I don't know, it's like maybe emotional now. It's just really it's fun, it's good. Of Bob Proctor leading one of his seminars. I would get like a room full of people and consultants and team. I would start crying. There was something, Laura, that spoke to my soul. I would get so emotional watching him. The man's dead at this point, but I would watch like just his YouTube channel and watch videos of him teaching. And there was something in me that was like, you were meant to do this. And that was a whole nother level of leadership. That was a whole nother level of visibility. That was a whole nother level of being seen, a whole nother level of business acumen that I didn't have. And it felt like the big, big vision. You know how you have like the vision, then you got the big, big
Hmm.
vision. It felt like the big, big one. And when you're intuitive, which you are, and I am, you just know when it's time to address something. You know when you're at one of those inflection points, one of those pivot points to your question. And I knew it was time to choose what path I was going to go down. If I was going to stay pretty much where I was, which was comfortable, or if I was going to go for something totally unknown that felt scary and felt like a lot more visibility, a lot more eyes on me, a lot more responsibility. And I had massive limiting beliefs about all of that. And what I ended up looking at was, well, if I just took fear out of the equation here, what would I do? And I realized that fear was the only reason I wouldn't go for the big, big vision. And that's when I knew it was my truth. And so I said yes, had a couple of weeks of like full body, just stuff coming up physically around that, like pain. I don't even, a lot of like gut clenching stuff. I just remember it was an uncomfortable season and it manifested physically. And so from there, though, what's been beautiful, this was, I don't know, maybe 8, 10 months ago, is that the stars have aligned in such beautiful ways. It wasn't an immediate, like, yes, here we go. I hadn't actually seen myself in that type of a leadership role either. It felt heavy. It felt like a lot of responsibility. So I got to do a lot of deep inner work around that and a lot of repatterning around that. And it's been an integration process since then. I actually spoke about it on one of our group calls this morning, where it's probably been a solid like 6 to 7 month period of really working through a lot of those beliefs, those the identity of who is Elyse as an 8-figure CEO. How does she operate? What's her team like? How is her relationship with money? It's very different than at the old level, and that's okay. But a couple weeks ago, I just had a moment one day where it's like I had been in the becoming process for a long time. And when we set a new goal, we've got to first become a match for that goal. So I'd been in the becoming process. And then one day I was just like, she's here. I'm her.
Mm.
That's it. It had clicked, like working through the resistance and the limiting beliefs, it had clicked. So what I know now, which is fun, is that from this place, I didn't instantly have an 8-figure business, but from this level of consciousness, I can now, I see things differently. I see my business differently. I see my team differently. I see money differently, and things are coming in. Opportunities are coming in. Chances to act on that are coming in. So it's consciousness first, action second, but there's always going to be another level. There's always going to be another level of expansion. And I think that when we are called to that, but we choose not to take action on it, that's when we manifest fights with our partners. We manifest injury. I'm not saying that things that happen to people are all because they're like holding back from their potential. I think there's a number of reasons why those things happen. But what I do know is if you're called to go to another level and you don't, you will experience some contrast. You will experience things that don't feel great. And my viewpoint on that is your soul being like, hello, trying
Hmm.
to wake you up to pay attention to go. So that's a long answer.
No, no. You know what I
That's
really
where we are now.
no, what I really love about you, Elyse, is like you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. Like you fully embody it and
Yeah.
you're transparent that it's not like I'm at the finish line. Let me help you. You're like, no, I'm moving. So whether
Yeah.
somebody is like at the beginning part, like their first pivot, or they're like, holy shit, I'm going from 7 to 8 figures. I
Yeah.
really feel because of your experience and continued experience, let's just say, like you can really help them through that. So if anyone who's listening right now was like, I'm really scared, I don't know if I'm ready, but I'm kind of ready, like
Yeah.
how would they contact you or how would they get involved? Because you mentioned the community, which I'm a part of.
Mm.
Tell
Yeah.
people about you and the beautiful work that you do.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, you're such a leader in the community.
Thank
And
you.
I want to acknowledge you for that because I feel like that's just part of who you are. Like I just know this about you. You're great at community building. And so we're very honored to have you in the community and have you as part of what we're doing. And yeah, it's a beautiful group. I mean, I love every, it's a very cool, very special energy that we have. But yeah, absolutely would be so happy to connect with anyone who wants to go deeper or learn more. I'll share the free training link that we have if someone wants to say, hey, you mentioned something there, like, hey, you mentioned 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth before. That is the process that I teach of how I 10x'd in 6 weeks, how I went from being stuck for so long to quantum leaping. So I think we did a lot to uncover some of that today, which is great. And there's way more.
Mhm.
So it's a 7-day free mini course. You can go to ElyseArcher.com/4 quadrants and let us know that you came in from Laura's community as well from the Pivot Point podcast. I think that's really special and important. We want to give her listeners a shout out. And then I'm at Elyse Archer. Website is ElyseArcher.com. So please DM, reach out. Let me know that you came in from Laura's podcast and her community. I just think that the more people who are doing this work, the better. And we can all rise up together as a collective. So I appreciate you being in the community and you being a part of what we're doing. And you are in your own quantum leap. You are living and embodying this right now. And it's really fun to see.
Absolutely. Thank you, Elyse. I'll put all of that in the
Yeah.
show notes. And I have one final
So
question that I ask everyone that's on the show.
perfect.
If you were an item at a coffee shop, so like, I don't know, coffee, tea,
Yeah,
pastry, what would you be and why?
that's a good question. Oh, you know what? I would be, I mean, this is just what I crave. So I'd probably be a chocolate covered espresso bean. Like we
Addicting.
got those at the airport the other day. They're so addictive. And I will say I'm a woman who eats pretty healthy and I love my chocolate. I've given myself permission to just like,
Mhm.
I love my chocolate, my dark chocolate, especially it's got to be dark chocolate. And now that I am not actively pregnant right now, I'm also really here for a good caffeine kick.
Mm,
I'd be a chocolate covered espresso bean, probably for no other reason than I really like them. So that's probably what I would be.
yeah. Now I feel like I should go get some. Those are dangerous
I
because you
feel like
can
I should get
only,
some too.
yeah, you can only have so, it's easy to overeat, but the consequences are not that great.
I know, maybe I should be something else for my brand, but they are delicious.
They are delicious. Elyse, thank you so much for joining me here. I'm sure the listeners have learned a lot and are now even more like, I need to learn more. I really appreciate you making the time and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Laura. So much love to you.
Big thanks again to Elyse Archer for sharing her story so openly. These conversations are such a reminder that no pivot is too messy, too late, or too unconventional. If something she said resonated, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone you know who needs it. And when you're ready to start your own pivot, head to www.leadintact.com for free resources or book a free 20-minute call with me. I'm here for you.